FSU not quite done recruiting the 2025 class. They had 3 official visitors on campus this weekend, and I think that they'll probably land a couple. If they could go 3 for 3, they'd be in pretty good shape. But let's talk about them real quick, and then we'll move on. 4-star edge, which, as much as we've lamented the edge recruiting here in Tallahassee, it certainly was better this cycle as they made a couple of splashes right, the week of signing week and got a couple of guys to flip, got a couple of guys, one from Ole Miss, one from LSU, to join the class. And they've certainly got more talent, more young talent in the edge room right now than I think they've ever had since Mike Norvell has been here, if we're being honest, right? They obviously had a lot of talent with Jared and Jermaine and Kier and different guys that they've brought in, Pat at one point. But this is the best collection of young talent that I think they've stacked. And if they could add Zahir Mathis out of Cocoa, Florida, 6'5", 230-pound defensive end, number 119 overall player in the country per the On3 industry rankings, you'd certainly like to add to that room if you can and continue to stack that talent. I don't know how big of an impact guy he would be this year. I think you probably have a little bit more of that from some of the other guys that you've taken in this cycle. But he has visits to Michigan and UCLA coming up soon. Florida State could add to that room, Richie, and pull him in. It seemed like I watched his exit interview over at Noles 247. I don't know. I think most of those things are pretty canned, and I don't really pull a lot away from any of them. I'm not like, oh, wow, like we're getting him because of this interview. He's got some more visits coming up. You don't have the last visit. He's probably deciding at the end of this month, beginning of next month. But I thought he said good things about hanging out with Norvell, hanging out with Coach Knighton, and it'll be on FSU to close now. How good of a job did they do while he was on campus here? How good of a job will Michigan, UCLA, others that he's visited do? He was committed to Ohio State for a really long time, decommitted in November, opened things back up. And if you can pull him and continue to stack blue chip talent on the defensive line in the trenches, I certainly think you would like to do that.
Yeah, obviously you'd love to do pretty high 4-star. But star ratings for me, I like to look more at what their offer list looks like. What teams are actually going after them? He's visiting the defending national champions next. The
For at least a
potential,
week.
yeah, he was committed to the potential national champions of this year. Yeah, that's good company to be in when you're fighting for a recruit, and it doesn't make it easy, obviously. We talked about this before, but with high school recruits, you always want to be the last official visit. With transfer portal recruits, you want to be the first one because you want to get them on campus and lock them down immediately. But yeah, I think it's weird because we don't have a new coaching staff, obviously. We have several new coaches on the staff, but it almost feels like you're getting a miniature, new coach bump by having some of these new coaches on staff. I think that's going to be very helpful because, you can say, listen, last year was not what we wanted it to be. However, we brought in all these new coaches and these are their accolades at their previous stops, come play for us. I think that does make it a little easier to sell because there's no way you could have brought the whole staff back from last year. It just wasn't something you could do. But again, if you're competing against Michigan and UCLA and he was committed to Ohio State, that's a player I want. Simple as that.
Yeah, and you mentioned kind of the new coach bump. It's not I think it's not just the new coach bump, but it's also just the idea of coaches that actually give a damn in our recruiting. I think that's almost a bigger bump than
100%.
That's almost a newer bump than having new coaches, right? Like just guys that actually care about bringing guys in. At least that's the perception. I don't want to judge. Guys have been on campus for a month. I don't want to judge their.
It's easy to work hard your first month on a job.
Yeah. Everybody does a good job there most people. I used to work in recruiting, and I know you hire too. Not everyone works hard, but in a job like this, you certainly. So I don't want to judge their whole tenure based on a month, but there does seem to be an uptick a little bit. Not just him, but interior 3-star offensive lineman Chavez Thompson, nicknamed Sandman. Before we go on, Richie, I feel like Florida State could have the all-team name this year when you start to think about the Squirrel. Even Deuce Robinson, you think about some of the names that are on this team this year. Sandman would be a nice addition to that. He's an interior offensive lineman, a center that's currently committed to FIU, somewhere between 6 foot and 6'1", 310 pounds. And not a guy that I think is going to come in and make an instant impact if you're able to flip him, but a guy that Florida State really likes. And again, we've talked about this offensive lineman. You need to throw as many numbers as you can at that. And if they can continue to build out their future classes and future bodies for what we're going to bring in, then I'm all for it. So, but again, Sandman, I like the nickname.
Yeah, so I haven't looked in too much on him, but I'm assuming Herb Hand has a prior relationship with him, which is helpful. And
Yeah, did recruit him at UCF.
yeah. So if he does, that's a good sign because he says, you know what, you're good enough for me at UCF. I'm going to take you at Florida State if you're willing to come. I think it's an easy decision for him being an FIU commit. I'm not sure what his other options are, but yeah, let's just hope Virginia Tech doesn't get involved because if they can say, hey, we're going to play Enter Sandman for you every time you step on the field, that might be something hard to compete with. But yeah, you know, again, offensive line, like you said, you just have to throw bodies at that position. And not everyone's going to work out. We've seen 5 stars come in here. You know, what has Julian Armella done since he's been here? And he was very highly recruited, could have gone anywhere in the country, came to Florida State, and there's still hope for him. So I'm not saying there's not, but you know, it's one of those positions as well where very rarely do you get a true freshman to come in and be an impact player on the offensive line. But he's definitely a promising prospect, in my opinion. I like the size. You know what? You can say he's a little short, but for the interior, I'm not too concerned about
Yeah,
size. You're like
center.
5'7", 5'8". That obviously that won't work out in major college football. But I do think he's someone that can come in and by year 3 be a potential starter. So again, a good guy to have on campus. And if you know Malzahn and Hand want him on campus and they're entertaining that, I'm sure Norvell trusts Malzahn, having worked with him in the past. That I have no problem with this.
This is a fun one for our older Knowles. So most people that
Yes.
tune into the show are older than me. So not that I don't remember Cromartie, but Antonio Cromartie Jr., legacy recruit, obviously Antonio Cromartie's son, NFL legend, played at FSU. Didn't start at FSU, just some injuries and different things that went on, but obviously was really, really good first rounder. Great NFL talent. Antonio Cromartie Sr. got a Christmas Day offer, which we did mention. We did talk about a little bit when it happened, which was really cool. Obviously, a kid that not necessarily ranked by 247, not a highly sought after kid that Bama and Georgia and everybody are fighting over, but a legacy recruit that the Christmas Day offer said. I mean, he was. I think the family was kind of in tears, when it happened, and pretty excited about it, and obviously dream school type stuff, but not dream school that like scares you off and ends up going somewhere else. If Norvell and staff, fumble this one, it would be pretty bad. But I feel really good about where they're at. Christmas Day offer. I did see, I don't know if you saw this, Richie, but I saw a cool story where Tara over at Garnet and Gold gave some love and said that AJ, Cromartie Jr. had come to Garnet and Gold for a Derwin James signing, and Derwin even commented that he thought AJ was going to be the real deal and would be really special when he was older. He is deciding on Monday. Obviously, I really like the Noles there and think that that's what'll end up happening. I think he'll end up committing. But with roster expansion and the fact that you can offer more scholarships now allows Florida State to do something really, really cool and bring in a guy that is one of your program's best ever to come in and potentially be on your roster if he picks the Noles tomorrow. So Monday.
Yeah, I get nostalgia from that. One of my good friends in high school was a Miami fan, right? In my senior year, we would play NCAA, and he would get mad at me because I would put Cromartie on punt return, kick return. He's like, "For his ACL, he's out for the year. You can't play him." I'm like, "Yes, I can. He's available on the video game." But yeah, so that's a name. You know, that's really when I started becoming a huge Florida State fan. You know, I went to my first game in '95, but really in my high school years is when I started watching every single game. I couldn't miss one. Had to watch every game with my dad. So just the name, the nostalgia is awesome. And like you said, he probably wouldn't be an impact player right away, but you certainly cannot question his genes or what he could potentially be. And to get that offer on Christmas Day, like you said, that's a big deal. I remember Warwick Dunn committed on Christmas Day back in 1992 to Bobby Bowden. So I love hearing stories like that. I have a soft spot in my heart for feel good stories, and I think he's definitely a guy, like you said, expanded rosters, more scholarships. Absolutely bring him in. I'd be shocked if he did not sign with Florida State. And I love what Tara from Garnet and Gold. Make sure you guys stop there anytime you're in Tallahassee or shop online. But I love the story that she shared about Derwin James. I think the Florida State Brotherhood is very real. I saw, I think it was Jalen Ramsey quote tweeted a tweet from the about Derwin James getting selected to first team All Pro. I love seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. And again, something that I think Florida State will end up landing. I think they could go 3 for 3 here. I'd probably lean closer to 2 for 3. But I also just got to comment on Ty Haywood. I don't have a great feeling there. We'll see if Florida State can kind of push and jump back into it. But I don't know that they pull that flip off. If they do, then count me into the believers that they
Yeah.
can do anything. But I don't know that I'm quite bought in just on that one yet. But I do think that with the ones that they've got with Cromartie Jr., I think they probably do end up flipping the offensive lineman from FIU, Sandman Thompson, and then we'll see on Mathis if they can. We'll see how big of an impact they made there and see if they can flip him or not. I don't know. I'm not ready to pull the trigger on just that one, but give me 2 for 3 as of right now.